We are so early in this AI stuff that you say X is the absolute definitive principle. Don't say that with 100% certainty. Be tracking and updating. When I was on the board of OpenAI between GPT-2 and GPT-3, and I saw what the increase in capabilities was, and I went, okay, do I think I will see another similar jump between 3 and 4?
Yep.
And the answer is yes. Okay, this is going to be huge. And that's when
when you brought Sam Altman into
the partner meeting and everything else, and we started adding that to a major investment focus. You should always, when you're talking to someone, what do you know that I don't know and I should be investigating? And so one of the assertions that was made to me by someone I trust was that Gemini is much better for certain kinds of fiction and creative work than these others. And so I was like, okay, I should go try that. I've always thought about writing a science fiction story. Maybe Gemini can help me, who knows? So you should always be looking at that and trying to understand it.
What was some of the early signals to you that that kind of made you confident that this was the next wave and this is the time to build in AI?
One thing maybe folks here know, most people don't know, my undergraduate was actually this thing called symbolic systems at Stanford, which is basically a version of cognitive science and artificial intelligence. And I went to do a master's degree in philosophy at Oxford. So I've always had an interest in AI, partially as a reflection of us, like how do we understand how we think and what it's thinking, but also like how do you create these artifacts? And my conclusion at Stanford was nobody really knew what intelligence was. Going to go try to figure philosophers figured out what intelligence is. They didn't know either. Okay, I'm going to go build software. And so then when this next generation of AI started happening, I initially didn't pay attention to it because one of the things where you most often caught as a blindside is when you're too deeply expert in something, you don't catch the new wave because you're like, oh, those are the rules, not these ones. And so you have to update yourself, whether it's investors, entrepreneurs, et cetera, to what is the current time. Now, then frequently people say, oh no, all those other people were idiots. You're like, well, you should understand why they died and why you won't die. So it isn't necessarily, oh, it's always a new time, it's always a new platform. It's like, why did that do? Like, a metaverse stuff is a classic.
It'll come eventually.
Yes, exactly. It will come eventually. Yeah. But why did those ones die? And do you have a good answer for why this one? And usually the answer is, oh, the glasses are better. And you're like, okay, maybe. I don't think it's likely. And so part of what happened is that, okay, AI is interesting. The human amplification part of it is something that's too often overlooked. Part of the reason why AI-led product is a very good thread. What I saw that triggered my interest was that some new ideas that involve scale compute were being involved. So the very first one from DeepMind was self-play games. And the reason why that is, and it's changing the paradigm of we program the AI to the AI learns. Because if you can actually make the AI learns work, then you can put 25,000 H100s against it and build something. And that shifted paradigm between programming it, learning it, between kind of like how do you bring scale compute into that, because it helps with the kind of learning and then obviously there's data and all the rest of the stuff we can go into. But all of that is the thing that started making it happen. Now, even that's not sufficient to know there's a there. And so that was when I started getting involved and talking to the heads of various labs, trying to figure out what's going on. I knew the applications would be there. That was part of like Chris Urmson and Aurora, other kinds of applications. But what I didn't know is would the general AI thing be there until I tracked when I was on the board of OpenAI between GPT-2 and GPT-3. And I saw what the increase in capabilities was. And I went, okay, do I think I will see another similar jump between 3 and 4?
Yep.
And the answer is yes. Okay, this is going to be huge. And that's when
when you brought Sam Altman into
the partner meeting and everything else, and we started adding that to a major investment focus, now becoming obviously the major investment focus. And then now when I look at GPT-4, I think the same thing relative to GPT-5. And that isn't to say it's only OpenAI. One of the things that I actually, because you're always asking, you should always, when you're talking to someone, what do you know that I don't know and I should be investigating? And so one of the assertions that was made to me by someone I trust last week in Europe was that Gemini is much better for certain kinds of fiction and creative work than these others. And so it's like, okay, I should go try that.
Yep.
I've always thought about writing a science fiction story. Maybe Gemini can help me, who knows? So you should always be looking at that and trying to understand it. And right now, I hope you all know, we are so early in this AI stuff that you say X is the absolute definitive principle. Don't say that with 100% certainty. Be tracking and updating. Now, I think it is a generally safe bet to go scale compute will actually, in fact, have some very major important attributes that it will have uniquely to the scale compute part of it. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other kinds of models and other ways and other things. And for example, even in the construction of agents, the fact of bringing multiple models together for the agents is, I think, one of the things that's going to play out. And so anyway, but it was that thing. And that's the thing that as entrepreneurs, as investors, that we should particularly focus on, which is how do new technologies change the paradigm of what products and services are? And essentially, that's another way of saying new platforms. Sometimes the platform's language always, have someone thinking, oh, it's got to be like, iOS or Windows or something. And it doesn't necessarily need to be that from a platform's perspective. But it changes the field of one or more or all industries because of the way it's working. And then what's unique to what that platform technology, something else, then enables, and which of those are startup opportunities. I'm also, along with the rest of us at Greylock, very convinced that there's a lot of AI startup opportunities, that it isn't just going to be the giants. Now they say, well, so that means that the giants are going to be disrupted? No, the giants are going to build some really amazing things too.